I hope I'm actually sharing my screen. There we go. Good afternoon. This is Robert at Scott Leroy Marketing. We're going to get started with our Placester 201 class. This is our little bit more advanced Placester class. This isn't the basics of getting your site launched and getting your information plugged into it. We're going to go into some of the more customization options of your site, like creating custom pages and area spotlights and testimonials and things like that. So let me get this minimized here. So the first step to accessing our KW website, actually a couple of things to cover before we get started. This class assumes that you've already worked through Placester 101, and we're not going to recover any of that information. We're going to pick up where Placester 101 left off. And then another big note is that make sure that you're using any browser besides Microsoft Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer was retired in 2015, about 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, and is no longer supported by many websites, including Placester. The Placester interface will not load if you're using Microsoft Internet Explorer. Now that's only for Windows 8.1 and older. If you're using Windows 10, it doesn't have Internet Explorer. It has Microsoft Edge, which is the new browser that replaced Internet Explorer, and that one works just fine. So our first step is going to be to get logged into our mykw.kw.com homepage. Once we're on our homepage, we'll hover over Technology, then click KW Websites, third one down. And then on this page, we'll click our red Go to My Website button. And again, if you don't have that button, that's covered in Placester 101. Just refer back to that at slmtraining.com. Once we're in our Placester interface, where we were working last time is over here in Quick Actions under Edit Site. We're still going to be in Edit Site, but we're not going to be on this same site settings page for very long. We're actually going to be moving over here to the right, also into Pages, Blog Posts, Testimonials, and Areas. Now, I do want to point out for the blog post here, normally that's something I cover, but the Placester system is having an issue right now where I can't access the blog system, so we're actually going to have to skip that today. I would encourage you to refer back to one of our older classes, the Placester 201 classes, to see how to work with blogs at slmtraining.com. Okay, so we're going to scroll down the page here, and where we left off in Placester 101 is custom domain, and that's where we'll pick right back up. Let me open this back up just as a little bit of a refresher. Here's where you can see the address of your site. It's going to end in .kw.com, or if you're in Canada, .kellerwilliamsrealty.ca. You can't change that part, but what you can change is this first part before the dot. You would click Edit over here, and you would put in what you want it to be instead, and then you would check the availability, and if it's green, if it tells you it's available, you can click Save, and that would apply that as your new site address. If you want to remove the .kw.com part, you would need to go to a third-party domain registrar and purchase your own custom domain to use with this site. And if you need help with that, we've actually got a deal here where we can help you, or where we've got a link for where you can get a 99-cent custom domain from GoDaddy for the first year. It's regular price after that, which usually isn't very expensive depending on the domain that you've chosen. It's usually somewhere between $10 and $20 per year. It's not even per month, it's per year. So if you want to do that, that's great for branding. It's great for your SEO. So if you want to do that, we've got that resource for you right there. And then if you do have a custom domain that you've purchased that you want to use with this site, we can actually get that connected to your site for you. That's a free service through your Market Center subscription, and I just sent you guys the link for that also. We're going to click out of our custom domain here, and I want to tell it continue because I made some changes I don't want to save. And we're going to pick up with 201 right here at site tracking. It's where the new information is going to be. So here in site tracking, this is where you can track the activity of what people are doing on your site. Now this is what information, so what they are doing on your site, where they came from, how they got there, how long they stayed on your site, how many different pages they went to. It's not who is on your site. There is no contact information collected through site tracking. If you want contact information, you're going to have to get that through them submitting a lead. That's totally voluntary for the site user to send you. There's no way to grab names and emails and phone numbers and things from people on your site without them voluntarily giving it to you. There's no way to grab that off of their computer. So for site tracking, we've got 3 sections here. We've got this first section for Google Analytics, and then we've got Google Conversion Tracking, and then Facebook Pixel Tracking. We're going to cover the Analytics and the Facebook Pixel really briefly, and we're going to skip the Google Conversion Tracking because this has to do with using Google pay-per-click leads, like on search engine results and whatnot. So that's a paid service. We're not going to cover that. We're just going to cover Analytics and Facebook Pixel. So Google Analytics is a free tool from Google where you can track the activity of people on your site. You can track a lot of stuff using Google Analytics. You can track where they came from, whether they typed your address directly into their address bar, or if they found you on a search engine, or if they referred over to you from your Facebook page or from an email that you sent out. You can see where they came from. You can see how long they spent on your site, whether it was 3 seconds or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. You can see how many pages they visited on your site. You can see which pages they visited on your site, and it's not so much on an individual basis, but you can see how many pages were visited on your site on average and that kind of thing. You can also see what am I talking about? Which page was visited most on your site. You'll see your most popular page. So there's a lot of information that comes from Google Analytics, and that's something we can set up for you. That's a free service, again, through your Market Center subscription. So if you'd rather not try to figure out how to set up Google Analytics, that's something we can do for you. I just sent you that link where we can take care of that for you. Down here at Facebook Pixel, this is something that you would have to do the beginning part for yourself to set up. You would go into your Facebook account, you would go into your ad manager and set up Facebook Pixel, and they would generate a code for you. You'd need your Pixel ID. You can send that over to us and we can get it plugged into this box here, or you can paste in that Pixel ID. It's a 15-digit long number. It's not a full HTML code snippet. It's not a very long thing. It's just a number, 15 digits. So if you're not sure what that digit is or where to find that in the code that Facebook provides to you, just send it over to us and we can get it plugged into this spot also. Again, from Placester 101, you got to remember any changes that you make on this site, you have to make sure to click save or it won't be applied. You'd have to go redo it. So I'm just going to click out of here because I didn't make any changes. Next, we'll drop down here to site verification. This is where you're verifying that you are the owner of this site. You have the ability to make specific changes requested by certain other sites to verify that you own this site and that you can show it on your profile there, or that you can track it. So up here for Google and Bing Webmaster Tools, both Google and Bing provide free services where you can track the SEO friendliness of your site. They'll tell you, this is where you could improve on your site, this is what's wrong with your site, that kind of stuff. Both Google and Bing provide that for free. And if you sign up for either of those, they're going to provide a little HTML code snippet. It doesn't need the full snippet in this box. It just wants the part after this quote mark, like it's showing you just before that box. They're trying to make it clear that we've got this already. All we need is what's after this quote, and that's what you would put in each of these boxes for those services. Now, we don't really work with Bing Webmaster Tools because honestly, Bing is a very far second place compared to Google. So we can set up Google Webmaster Tools for you. That's a free service through your Market Center. Sent you guys that link. But that's we don't really set up Bing Webmaster Tools. You would need to do that yourself. And then lastly here for the Pinterest box, this is for if you have created a Pinterest business profile and you want to list this site as your website on your Pinterest business profile, they need to verify that you are the owner of this site. And it's a very similar little thing. They're going to provide a little code snippet for you. You paste in the part that's after this first quote mark. And if you get that from Pinterest, send that over to us. We can get that plugged into this box for you also. Again, if you've made any changes, make sure to click Save to apply those. And then lastly here under site settings is the SSL certificate. Actually before we jump into that, if you want more information about all of our free services that your Market Center is paying for you, you can visit scottleroymarketing.com/support. I just sent that link over to you guys also. And by the way, before we go too much further, I do want to point out that that chat window there, if you didn't see me pop that up at the beginning of the class, up at the top of your window, this second this middle left button here looks like a speech bubble. That'll open up your chat window. If you have any questions, feel free to send them over to me. I am monitoring this. I am looking at it. So if there's anything that you're not clear on, or if I move too quickly, or if I skip something, definitely let me know. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? It'll come to me. Okay, so SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer. That's not so important for you to remember except for the secure part. This is the security of your site. This is letting people that visit your site know that when they put in their name, when they put in their phone number, when they put in their email address on your lead capture forms, it won't be intercepted by anybody else. It'll only go to you. So say they're in like a public cafe or in the library or something like that, they're connected to somebody else's Wi-Fi. There could theoretically be hackers and scammers connected to that network also trying to grab that information as it travels over the airwaves. This SSL right here prevents that from happening. So you want to make sure to leave this on. It's on by default. Every once in a while, sometimes, I think I've seen this twice since this was introduced over a year ago. So every once in a while, if you're using a certain custom domain, it can cause problems using this SSL certificate, and you might want to turn that off. But that's very, very specific instances from the thousands of agents we've worked with and set up and the several hundred custom domains we connected to these sites. We've seen it once or twice. So the vast majority of the time, you want to leave this on. Okay, so that's it for site settings. Now we're going to work our way to the right here, and we'll start with pages. And as we get started here, I often get the question, what's the difference between a page and a blog post? And that's a very good question. A page is more of a permanent fixture on your site. It's something that you're not expecting the content of to change very often. You want it to always be found in the same place, in the same manner, easy to get to. You want it to be pretty static on your site. That would be information like seller resources or buyer resources. It could be a page about local attractions. It could be a page about your preferred vendors. That's what you would use pages for. A blog post, on the other hand, is more mercurial. It's more changeable. This is like a newspaper article or a newspaper edition. A new edition, a new blog post, moves down older blog posts so that they're harder to find. You have to click through more times on different pages to find those older blog posts. So you expect those to be pushed behind. They can be found. It just takes more work to find it than a page. So that's like I said, a newspaper edition. Today's edition replaces yesterday's edition, and yesterday's news isn't quite as important as today's news. That's why they call it yesterday's news. So as we move across here from pages to blog posts to testimonials to areas, the first thing you'll see on each of those pages is this plus sign button here. Every one of these is the exact same process to create a new one. So whatever you're on, whether it's pages, blog posts, testimonials, or areas, say I was in areas, click this plus sign to create a new area. Or in testimonials, click the plus sign to create a new testimonial, and so on and so forth. Moving down here, you'll also see the list of existing things that you're looking at here, whether it's a page, blog post, testimonial, or area. There are 5 pages that are created by default when your site is generated. You've got your About page, pretty self-explanatory. Got your blog page, that's going to list any blogs that you create over here. You've got your contact page, pretty self-explanatory. Listings search page, that's going to have the search page on it, self-explanatory. And then your favorite listings here is a little bit less self-explanatory. This is your as in the site visitor's favorite listings rather than your as in the agent's favorite listings. If you want to show a page full of your favorite listings, we do have instructions for how to do that. It's called a featured listings page. And if you want information about that, you can send us an email and we can send that over to you, send those instructions to you. On any of these here, after you've created one and it shows in this list, you can either click on the name or on edit over on the right to edit that page or blog post or testimonial or area that you've created. And then most of them are also going to have a remove button over on the right so you can delete that from your site. You'll notice the About page and the Listings search page don't have the remove option. These are required to exist on your site. This one definitely you want to keep on your site for sure. The About page, you can remove this from the menu if you don't want to have an About page that people can access easily, but it would still exist on your site. The listing search page, no reason to remove this in any way, shape, or form. You want listing search on your site. That's half of the point of your site. So we're going to create a new page. In fact, we're going to create a couple of pages as we move forward, but I'm just going to go through general information first, and then we're going to create a couple of specific pages after that. So we'll click our plus sign to create a new page. So here is what our page creator looks like, and this is going to look a little different depending on what you choose in this template dropdown. If I go up here to the first option instead of the last, which is the default, this default page template here, I get some more boxes here. I get a page content here, and I get some checkboxes and whatnot. This is going to be different from like a client profile. It doesn't have a content. So before we get to this drop down here, I want to cover what the slug is. Slug is just a fancy name for address. So this is the address of this page. And this is tied to the title that you type in this box. So if I do something like test page, you notice it automatically adds it highlighted in orange to the end of this address. So if I wanted to go see this page after I saved it, I would go to scottleroymarketing.kw.com/test-page. And now these are not independent. You can't change this without changing this, or vice versa. This changes, that changes. On other site systems like maybe WordPress, you can have a different slug or address than the title, but here in Placester you can't. So these are always going to be the same. So coming back to our template drop down here, there are several different templates. Most of them you're not going to use. One is this about page, already created on your site, don't need to do that. You're not by default going to be able to use this agent's index page. This is not the broadcast skipping. It's actually, I can't click this agent's index option here. This is actually part of an upgrade package from Placester. This is where if you were like the lead agent on a team and you wanted to have separate pages on this site specifically for those your team members, it would have their contact information, their social media links, their picture, their bio on their own individual pages. You could pay for that upgrade package, and this would be a list of those pages. Not so much a need for that because we do have a workaround where you can create that pretty easily without paying for it. And if you want those instructions, again, that's something we can send to you. Just shoot us an email at support@scottleroymarketing.com. We can get you that information. Under the agent's index, we've got this areas index. This is one that we're going to be creating in just a little bit. And I want to point out as we move forward on this site, and as you move forward in life, actually, anytime you're working on computers or with websites, anytime you see the word index, think list. Index equals list equals index equals list. Index is list, okay? So this is an areas list page. So what would happen here is if you created this page right here, as you added new areas right here, this page would list all of those areas. It would index them on the site. Same for the blog post index. This is that pre-existing blog page that's already on your site. It lists blog posts that you create up here. Client profile, this one's a little bit less self-explanatory, just like the actual page that it is already created on your site. This is that your favorite listings page that's already on your site. So there's not really a reason to create another one here. That one shows the properties that people have favorited if they've created an account on your site. I'm sorry, my mouse drifted, but we were talking about the client profile. The contact page, again, already created on your site, no reason to create that. Here's another one that my highlight and my click skips over. I can't select the I can't select the custom landing page. This is another one that's part of an upgrade package from Placester. If you want any more information about any upgrades to your Placester site, please contact Placester directly. We don't have any information about their upgrade packages. We're not in charge of any of that. We just work inside this. So if you want to upgrade your Placester site, you would contact Placester, since this is Placester's system. So for this custom landing page, if you haven't heard what a landing page is or a squeeze page, this is basically a page that you create that you're going to connect to maybe a flyer or a Facebook ad or a, what's that called? Google ad or something like that, where when someone clicks on the link and it takes them to this page, the only thing they have possible to do on this page is to fill out a lead capture form to give you their name and phone and email and whatever other information you put on that page. That's what a landing or squeeze page is. Now this landing squeeze page is built into your site, and you can remove any other options from the page. You can remove the menu, you can remove the home page link, you can remove all that other stuff where the only option is to fill out the form. However, we have a little workaround using Google Forms where we can help create a free landing page on your site where it doesn't remove that menu, but it does show them right in the middle real big this contact form that you want them to fill out. And if you want more information about that, we have this handy dandy link that I'm going to send to you right now. Okay. A listing search page, again, already created on your site, no reason to create another one. RSS feed index is kind of nifty. Say you've got an existing blog on another platform like blogger.com or wordpress.com or activerain.com, any other blog site, and you want to show those blog posts on this site without having to copy and paste them. Pretty easy to do. You would go to that blog service, Blogger, whatever, and you would find your RSS link. I don't remember what RSS stands for. I think it's real-time syndication service or something like that. But you would find your RSS link and you would just paste that link into this box, save it, and now those posts would automatically show on your site. And you would probably want to rename this blog and remove the existing blog page from over here. If you need help finding your RSS link, that's actually very different for each and every blogging site. So you would actually want to reach out to that site's support for how to find your RSS link to paste into this box right here. Down here at Real Satisfied Ratings and Reviews, Real Satisfied is essentially Yelp for real estate agents. It's a place to collect your testimonials and reviews and things from your clients and from people that you've worked with. You can show those as testimonials here on your site. You would just click this button and connect it to your Real Satisfied account. From what we've heard, though, is your Real Satisfied account has to be a paid account. You have to upgrade your account on Real Satisfied in order for those testimonials to be able to automatically come over here to Placester. It's not something that Placester is charging you for, it's something that Real Satisfied is charging you for. So you would contact Real Satisfied about that. And then the last option in the drop down here is the one that's selected by default, that testimonials index. This is again a list of whatever testimonials that you put in here. And we're going to be creating this in just a minute, but let's go back up to default page template so I can go over the different parts of the page. We've already talked about the slug and the title, and then depending on the template that you've chosen, this is your page content here. This is where you can put in your own text, your own links, your own images, your own videos. You can arrange things in tables, you can align, you've got your whole text editor up here. And if you're pretty savvy and you know HTML, you can click on this button and you can add in your own HTML code there. So this would be a place to put in, links to your seller resources, your favorite moving company or your favorite staging company or that kind of thing, or your vendors or, local attractions, that kind of thing would be in a default page template type. Under that, we've got a couple of checkboxes here. This first checkbox is if you're using the Madison or the Madison Metro theme, you can have this push out the contact and listing search page that shows on the right side of the site on every page that's on the site. If you check this box, those won't show there, and instead the content of this page that you're doing right now will show all the way across the page. And this is how we do that with the landing page that we create for you guys. We check this box and it removes those other contact forms to avoid confusion. Now this does only work with the two KW specific themes, the Madison and the Madison Metro. The other themes you can check this box, but it won't actually do anything. And then this checkbox underneath it, this add this page to my menu, pretty self-explanatory. When you click save, this page will automatically be added to your menu with the link name, whatever you put in the title up here. This checkbox is only here the very first time as you're creating the page. After you click save as draft or save, it removes that checkbox and you would need to go manually add it to your menu if you didn't check this box when you were first creating the page. Under that, we've got our meta title and meta description. I covered this just a little bit in Placester 101, so I'll cover it a little bit more in depth here. Meta title, both of these are part of what's called SEO, search engine optimization. It's not all there is to search engine optimization, but it's a big part of it. And what am I trying to say? That is abbreviated SEO, and this is how you help your site do better on search engine rankings. So this meta title shows in two places. It shows up here in the browser tab. You see where it says Placester here and MyKW here. That's where the one place where the meta title shows. The other place is on a search engine result. It's this blue link here that you would actually click on in order to go view the site. So you're telling the search engine what to display here. And real live actual human beings are seeing this. So keep that in mind when you're typing that. For the meta title, you've got a soft limit of about 55 characters. And I say soft because it's not going to cut you off. It's not going to not let you type anymore. But when you show on search engine results, and I have to go to the second page. Oh, no, there it is. When your page shows on search engine results, it'll truncate it after 55 characters using this ... It doesn't hurt anything when that happens. It doesn't excuse me, hurt your SEO. It doesn't remove it. It's just letting you know that, okay, this is the end of what we can show. So that in mind, when you're writing your meta title, you want it to be most important, most specific information up front, and then least important, least specific information toward the end. And so you want to put together essentially a quote-unquote template for your meta titles, because consistency in your meta titles is also important. So if I were to go back to my site info here, and I have my meta title that I wrote in Placester 101 right here, I'm just going to copy that, go over to my pages, and as I'm creating my page, I'm going to do my default here. Now, default. There we go. As I'm creating my page, best idea to do, as far as I know, and if you've heard any better or any different from this, definitely go with your own gut. But as far as I'm concerned, the best thing to do is just paste in that same meta title from your site settings page, and then just add the title of this page at the very beginning. So test page, and then do your dash to separate it. And then you would want, definitely your name. This is your site. You're the most important thing about this site. You want this to make, you want people to know who they're looking at on this site. A lot of agents put in their phone number here so that that's on that search engine result page. They can just call them from right there without going into the site. You want to make sure to add the purpose of your site, search homes for sale in your service area. And then from there, it can get less specific, less important, like your market center name. Neat little kind of rule of thumb here. This right here, the edge of your box as you're typing, is roughly 55 characters. So somewhere around here in the next 5 or so characters is where it's going to start truncating it with that ... So if you want to see what people are going to see when they see this page on a search engine, that was a lot of C's, you can roughly estimate it using the edge of this box right here. What am I trying to say there? Now, one thing about the meta title and the search engine result, this is not an immediate change. Your site is not that important to Google. Google doesn't care that you changed your meta title on your page that you created 3 weeks ago. Google has much bigger fish to fry, like Facebook and Microsoft and LinkedIn and all these other sites that have been around for a very long time. They're very large sites. They're very regularly and quickly updated sites, and they have more quote-unquote reputation basically with Google. Google cares about them a lot more than your site, so your site has to cycle through with the crawling robot on Google with all of the other billions of web pages that are out there, and that takes roughly 3 weeks, give or take. So if you make a change to your meta title here, it's not going to show on search engines for about 3 weeks, give or take. So that's why if you ever hear somebody say, we can get you to the front page of Google overnight, take that with a very large grain of salt, because unless they're doing something maybe a little shady, your site is not that important. What am I saying there? So yeah, meta title. For meta description, this only shows on the search engine results page, and it's this gray text underneath your blue link for the meta title. So again, actual human beings are seeing this. For the meta title, you've got more space here. You've got about 3 times as much space. It's about 155 characters. So you can be more verbose here. You can be a little more specific. You can use quote unquote meta tags, but you don't want to do it as a comma separated list. So you don't want to do like homes for sale in Orlando, buy homes in Orlando, property for sale in Orlando, blah, 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 blah. Same thing over and over, just changing 1 or 2 words at a time, comma, 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 comma. That's not what this spot is for. Meta tags fell out of fashion roughly 10 years ago. Search engines have gotten so much more sophisticated now, so meta tags are not going to trick them into sending people to your site if your site doesn't have anything to do with that quote unquote tag. Search engines are more looking at the content on your site, what's actually on your pages, on your blog posts, on your area pages, for how your ranking does versus these tags here. Instead, this meta description is intended to be a helpful description that an actual real live human being is going to read to see what this page is about before they actually click on that search engine result link, if they click on that search engine result link. So like our meta description up here, welcome to Scott Leroy Marketing, the cost-effective digital marketing solution for your company. That's not digital marketing, comma, KW digital marketing, comma, online marketing, comma, 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 comma. This is human readable language, okay? So it's a similar principle to your meta title. You want your important specific information up front. So something like this is apologize, there's a loud vehicle going by on the street outside. So this is a test page for Placester, 201, something like Scott, or actually be very similar to, very similar to the meta description that you typed in your site settings page, your edit site info page. So something like Scott Leroy is your local resource to buy, sell, or invest in a home in and around Orlando, Florida, something like that. Again, you can be more verbose here because you've got 155 characters. And I do want to point out there are quote unquote tags in this sentence here. Scott Leroy is a tag, buy is a tag, sell is a tag, invest is a tag, home is a tag, Orlando's a tag. You can put in other surrounding areas in there. Those would be quote unquote tags. You can change this wording a little bit to include maybe properties or something like that, but you don't want it to be, like I said, comma, 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 comma. Once you've got all your information in your page, you would tell it save to send it live on the site right now, or you can save it as a draft and only you would be able to see it here on the site backend, and then you could save it and publish it to the site at a later time. So say this is a page about an event that you're going to be having soon, but you're not ready to actually share it on your site yet. You can save it as a draft and then send it live later once you are ready to share it. I'll go ahead and save that. Oh, I have to have a title. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Check these two boxes here just to show you what that looks like on Scott's site. Now, if you check that box that says add this page to my menu, this is going to pop up here letting you know this page was added to your menu. If you want to, you can go edit the menu and drag and drop and rearrange things if you want, or you can just close this to go back to the list of pages. So now if I go over and view Scott's site, I've got my new test page here in the menu because I checked that box. And when I click on that, here is my meta title up at the top. And if I hover over that, you can see the full thing there in the tooltip. Here is our title, here is our content, all of that fun stuff. If I had put in some pictures or images or links or whatever, this is where they would show as the body of the page. Now, because I checked that box for display full width, what you're not seeing is, like on the blog page here, it's a bad example, on an individual blog. Over on the right, we've got our listing search field form, and we've got our get in touch, our contact form. Because I checked that box for display of full width, these are not showing there. Okay, so we're going to create a couple of pages here that are really easy to do. So we'll click our plus sign, and the first one we're going to create is this one that it has selected automatically, this testimonials index. And we're just going to name this something like testimonials or reviews or something like that. I'm going to call it From the Horse's Mouth just because I'm having fun and this is not a real site. Something like that. And this is where the list of whatever testimonials we put in this spot are going to show on this page. So we do want to check this box for add this page to my menu. For the meta title here, I'm going to put in the title of the page, From the Horse's Mouth. And I am going to clarify that this is testimonials. And then Scott Leroy, phone number, So again, at the beginning, most specific, most important, this page, what this page is, and then the rest of it from your quote-unquote template that you have from your site settings page. And then for the meta description, something fun, but also has, the keywords that you're looking for. Hear from the horse's mouth just how great it is to work with Scott. To buy, sell, or invest in a home in and around Orlando, Florida, something like that. And so we've got our testimonials index created. We'll click save to send that live on the site. Pops up, lets me know that the page was added to the menu, so I'll just close that. And if I go refresh Scott's site, now I've got that new menu item from the horse's mouth. We're going to create one more page here. It's going to be another index page, but it's going to be the areas index page so that it lists the areas that we create under this heading right here. So I'm going to call this, it's up to you, but it's something like community served or where I work or about the area or area spotlights, something like that. I like area spotlights. I'm going to do that. And you can put page content right here if you want to. It's optional. You don't have to. It'll still list them whether or not you do. If you want to put in page content, it's up to you. I'm going to do some test page content and blah, 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 all that fun stuff. And then we'll come down here, add this page to my menu, leave that checked. You notice we don't have the checkbox for display full width. Certain page types don't have that checkbox. So just pay attention to that. Then we've got our meta title, so this is going to be area spotlights, and then our template, which I'll just paste in here. And then meta description, so learn what it's like to live in Winter Park. I'll call it Oviedo, I know that's not even close. Something like that. And so, like I said, Winter Park, tag, Oviedo Park, Oviedo tag, Ocala tag, Orlando Metro Area tag, Scott Leroy tag. So we'll save that, send that live on the site. And no, I don't want to edit the menu. So now I've got both of those pages here on Scott's site. Let's go create some stuff that will list on those pages. Normally at this point, I would go over to blog posts, but Placester is having an issue where the blog system is not working. So before we move on, I do want to, we were talking about those meta titles and meta descriptions and SEO, search engine optimization. We do actually have a 30-day challenge for how to improve your website's search engine rankings through, doing things on your site, adding content. And I just sent you guys that link there in a message. And then we also have a challenge just like that for working with the blog on your site. Which I can't show you right now because Placester is having issues. So if you want to check those out after the class, definitely check, click on those, take a look. If you're watching this on a recording and you want those links, just send us an email at support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can send those to you really easily. Okay, so we're going to go over here to testimonials. By default on your site, there aren't going to be any testimonials, and by default on your site, there isn't a testimonial submission page. What am I trying to say there? So testimonials have to be added manually by you. There isn't a place where clients can go to your site, type in a testimonial, and it would automatically show on your site. Now, we have a similar option to that landing page I sent you guys about the seller landing page. This is a form that we put on your site where people can submit a testimonial. It doesn't automatically get added to your site. You have to review that and manually add it yourself, but it's fairly easy to do. Just shoot us an email at support@scottleroymarketing.com. We can get you that information. So we're going to click our plus sign here to create a new testimonial. And this is just going to be, a test just to show you what it looks like. So, we'll call this satisfied buyer, something like that. And then you would paste in whatever their testimonial is. It was great working with Scott Leroy. He was so knowledgeable and friendly that we barely noticed how much he stank. I'm just kidding. I love Scott, but it's just a funny thing there. So you put in the testimonial, paste it in from wherever. You can paste this in from Google reviews, from Zillow, from if you've got them on Real Satisfied, but you don't want to pay for that account. If you've got them from, somebody sent you an email or from a previous site, those are your reviews. You can copy and paste them here just, without any permission. They're your reviews. Moving down here, referrer is the name of this person who gave you the review. If they don't want their name published or they didn't provide their name, you can put in anonymous, or you can put in, your Betty buyer, Sally seller, that kind of thing. So this will be Tom Brady. I know he's a football player. Okay, and then for affiliation, this is what type of relationship did you have with them in your transaction? Were they a buyer? Were they a seller? Were they a vendor that you worked with and they sent you a review? That's a really good experience that they had if a vendor sent you a review, or a co-broker on the other side of the deal. If they really liked working with you enough to send you a review, you might be able to bring them to KW and build your profit share tree. Anyway, if your broker wrote you a review, something like that, we're going to call this one a buyer. And then this checkbox here is if you have the Madison or Madison Metro theme, again, it's not available on other themes, you can feature testimonials on your homepage just by checking this box. Now, I think there's a limit of 2 testimonials to display on your homepage. So if you check the box for 3, it's going to show the 2 most recent ones on the homepage. And we'll check that here just to show what that looks like. Now, as we move to the right, new options are going to be added that were not on the pages section. So now we've got this new section called options, where we've got an excerpt and we've got a featured image. The excerpt is a summary of what this page, or excuse me, what this testimonial is about without re-pasting in the testimonial. So let's see, Tom was very happy with Scott's knowledge and attitude when buying his house, something like that. Now, if you don't put in an excerpt, what it's going to do is take the first couple of lines of the actual testimonial and use that as the excerpt. And where this excerpt shows is on our testimonials index page. It's going to show a picture, going to show the title, and it's going to show this excerpt section. So if you don't put anything on this excerpt, it's going to take the first couple of lines of the actual testimonial and put them there. For a featured image, for testimonials, this is a great place to put a picture of the listing that was bought or sold, or of the people who bought or sold the listing. If you don't have a picture of your client or of whoever it is that gave you this testimonial, or they don't want their picture on your site, definitely a great idea to put in the listing that they, what am I talking about, that they were working on with you. So I'm going to do that here, this nice picture of this nice house here. There we go. Now this house here, before I go much further, this is something that I normally would have covered during the blogging section. This house I found for free on the internet, and it is not requiring me to do anything special to have permission to use this image. That is not normally the case. If you just went to Google and you searched for pretty house and you used the first image that you saw there, more than likely that image is copyrighted. That image is owned by somebody else, and you would legally need to pay them for the rights to use that image on your site. And if you don't, and they find out you're using that on your site, they can actually come after you for back fees for using that image on their site, or on your site, without their permission, without paying for it. So if you want information about where to find free images like the one that I'm using here, I'm sending that over to you in the chat window right now. Okay, so again, we've got our meta title, so we'll call this Tom Brady buyer testimonial. Oops. And then the rest of our template here. And then for this meta description on everything that we're working on moving forward, including blogs, anywhere that you have an excerpt, whether it's a blog post, testimonial, or area, it's usually safe to go ahead and use this same excerpt as the meta description, because if they see one, they're not going to see the other typically. Even if they do, it's just good consistency. So I'm just going to paste in that same excerpt as the meta description. So I'll save that, send that live on the site, so that when I come back to my From the Horse's Mouth page, now I've got a new testimonial showing on this page. Here's my title, here's my excerpt. If I click on more, I'll go see the full testimonial. Here's who it was from, here's my featured image. So if I click on more, Here is my testimonial with that nice picture and the name and the full testimonial. Okay, so that's testimonials. Now we're going to jump over to areas. We're going to spend a good bit of time here, probably or definitely the rest of the end of class, because there's a lot of information you can put into an area page. And it starts up at the top here underneath the page title with all this stuff right here that's pulling from the MLS. So we'll get to that in just a second. Before we do that, I forgot to point out to you guys, if you do have testimonials from other pages and you'd like to get them added to your site and you don't want to go through that process of pasting them in via the method that I just showed you here, we can add up to 5 testimonials to your page for you. That's again free as part of your Market Center subscription. So I just sent you guys the link where you can send us each of those testimonials individually once per time you submit the form, and we can get them added to your site for you. Okay. So for your area page title, you want this to be the name of whatever it is that you're writing about. So if this is a particular neighborhood that you're writing about, or maybe a what's that called, a college or something like that that you're expounding upon, you're wanting to show yourself as the local expert about, you would put that name here. So I'm going to call this, I don't know, I'll just call it my neighborhood. And you would put in the name of whatever it is you're writing about. Under that is where you're choosing the criteria that the page is going to use to show listings out of your actual MLS. So by default, it's going to show all listings in the MLS at the bottom of this page. So we definitely want to narrow this down. So under add search criteria, we want to add in our neighborhood. And that is typically, usually, most often, vast majority of the time, what you're going to want to do here. You select your neighborhood rather than city, county, state, or zip. Everybody and their mother has written about city level. Everybody and their mother has written about county level, especially state level. A little bit less on zip code level, but zip codes can cover multiple neighborhoods and multiple cities, so that's usually too big also. So typically, you want to write about one particular neighborhood, or think of it as, in another term, one particular subdivision. What was I trying to say there? And the reason for that is because you want to be what's called, quote unquote, hyper local. So think about it this way. Say you went to Google and you typed in the name of your subdivision. I'm not in a subdivision here, but back in Pensacola, I was in, I don't even remember the name of the subdivision. But say it was, Ivy Oaks Estates, something like that. That's a defined subdivision in your area. If you were to search Google for that, you might get the Homeowners Association page. You might get maybe a Facebook page about that area. And then you would get Zillow, Realtor.com, Coldwell Banker, KW, whole bunch of sites that have nothing but just here's the listings in that area. That information is useful, but a lot of time when people are searching for a specific neighborhood that maybe they've already found some homes that they want to look at in, what they're looking for is, okay, is this close to such and such schools, or such and such military installation where I'm going to be working, or such and such shopping or entertainment? Is it close to, say you live at the beach, is it near the beach, or is it near that kind of thing? What are the crime rates like? What are the average prices in this area? What's the average layout of houses in this area? Square footage? How long do things take to sell? That kind of stuff. And you, as an agent in that area, have access to all of that information. So you can put that here on this area page, and guess what? You might be the only person on the entire internet that has a page that is more than just a page full of listings in that area. So you can be that quote-unquote hyper-local expert about that particular area. Great place to start is your neighborhood. So if you live in a specific named area of town or in a specific subdivision, that's a great place to start, right about your neighborhood. Now, if you want more information about what to put in there, what actually would fit well in that, we actually have a fill-in-the-blank template about for area pages. You just take out the parts that are in brackets in green and plug in your actual information about your area. And I just sent you guys the link to that. That is on Google Drive, on Google Docs. So you would do File, make a copy it over to your Google Docs if you wanted to edit it. We're not going to give you access to our copy, sorry. What am I talking about here? Okay, so we've selected our neighborhood. We're going to click Add to add that as a search parameter, and we're going to put in the name of our neighborhood. So I'm going to put in an S here. Mammoth Springs. That's what we'll call this. This is a neighborhood called Mammoth Springs. And then what we're choosing down here, and you wouldn't want to do any additional criteria here. What you're choosing down here is how it's going to sort these listings down at the bottom of the page. So depending on the area that you're writing about, you may want to do highest price first. If this is an area that has a lot of luxury homes in it, you might want to do days on site newest if this is a new subdivision, or you might want to do year built newest if it's a new subdivision, new construction, that kind of thing. You might want to do, say it's in an older part of town, but they're newer buildings and they're kind of close together, and you want to show off, hey, these are the ones with the most bedrooms in this area. You may want to do that, or bathrooms, that kind of thing. I'm going to pretend Mammoth Springs is a historic neighborhood, so I'm going to do year built oldest. I want to show off the oldest houses that are in this area after they get through reading all my information. And then how many listings do you want to show on the page? That's up to you. I'm going to leave it at 10. And if I search that, it's going to show me there are 2 listings in that area. Okay. Come down here, check this box for should this area be featured, or if you check this box, what it will do is by default on your areas index page, this, what is it called, area spotlights that we created, it's going to do them alphabetically. It's going to show A first, B second, C third. So if you check this box, it's going to jump this particular area ahead of that alphabetical. And if you check more than one for it to be featured, those featured featured areas are going to be alphabetical in themselves, and then it'll start back over alphabetical with the ones that are not featured. There's no point in checking that because I only have one areas page on here. For the slideshow here, this is very similar to the slideshow on the home page with one big exception. You can add as many images as you want. You're not limited to 5 images like you are on the home page. However, you are still constrained by the proportions of those images. You want them to be 1600 pixels wide by 600 pixels tall. Again, much, much wider than it is tall, almost 3 times wider than it is tall. So I've got some slideshow images I'm going to add here. I am going to add just 5 of them. Actually, I might just do 3. There we go, for time's sake. So that'll be my slideshow at the top of this area page. Under that, for our page content, there are 3 sections of page content. You've got a headline, body copy, separator image, headline, body copy, and then some more separator images, and then headline, body copy, and no separator images at the bottom. So this first section, I'm just going to name this section 1 to show you what the structure looks like. And I'm going to go get some lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is some nonsense Latin text from an old book that nobody really reads, and all that fun stuff. So this is just filler text to show you what it looks like with some text in there. So I'm going to paste that in there. And then we've got our separator image here, and it's telling you images should be 600 pixels wide. That's a minimum number. If your image is wider than 600 pixels, not a big deal. What it doesn't tell you here is it should be landscape. It should be wider than it is tall. So if it's wider than 600 pixels, no big deal. It's going to shrink it. If it's smaller than 300 pixels, though, it's going to blow it up and it's going to get grainy and distorted. So you want it to be as big as you can get it. So I'm going to upload a file here. For section images, I've got my nice rows here that is landscape. So that's my separator image. Then we'll call this section 2. Paste in some default text here. Now I've got 2 separator images here. There's 2 buttons here to upload a file. These are going to be displayed side by side to go all the way across the page. And it's telling you 300 pixels wide. Again, that's a minimum number. It's going to scale them down to be 300 pixels wide. And you do want them to be roughly the same dimensions if you can get them. So I'm going to do this one here. And then this one here. And now those will show next to each other on the actual page. Then I've got my section 3 and my body copy. And then we come down again, we've got another excerpt and another featured image. Again, excerpt is summary of this page without rewriting the whole thing. So learn about Mammoth Springs, or learn about the historic Mammoth Springs neighborhood in Orlando, Florida, from your local, expert Scott Leroy. There we go. And then for a featured image, this would, oh, by the way, all of these images should be about this area that you're writing about. That should be self-explanatory, but I wanted to make sure to cover that. It's images about this particular area. So for the image here, the featured image, most often what'll end up happening is you'll use your first slideshow image as this featured image. I'm going to use this other one just because I didn't use all 5 slideshow images. But normally that's what's going to happen, but you can do a different image here in the featured image versus the slideshow. Now, if you don't add a featured image, it is going to use that first image from the slideshow. And then down here for SEO, we're going to call this Mammoth or Historic, Mammoth Springs, Orlando, Florida, and then we'll call this Area Spotlight, and then we'll paste in our template here. And then again, we're going to copy our excerpt down here to the meta description, save that. So now if I go over to my Area Spotlights page, got my list, got my test page content from where I created my testimonials, or excuse me, my areas index page. Here's my featured image, my title, my excerpt. If I click on the image or on read more, it'll take me through to the actual page. Got my slideshow going up top here, my 3 images that it's going to scroll through. Got my section 1, my content text, my separator image. Section 2, content text, my 2 side-by-side separator images, and then section 3, content text, and then here is where it shows those listings that were based on the criteria that we chose at the top. So this is just those 2 listings that are in that area. You can't filter this by price, but you can sort it by price if you want to. That is pretty much it for our Placester 201. So everybody have a great day. If you need to get out,